Hey everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids, and in today's video I want to talk about how to save Raid Shadow Legends, right? The last video I did on the channel was looking at how in a lot of different ways things were going downhill. What can happen to turn things around? We're in a bit of a different recording situation today as well. I'm recording on my phone, walking up and down the kitchen, because that's what we do. Oh, I was going to flip the camera to show you my dogs. One of them is peeing at the moment, so I won't. But basically, I can show you this. So I came down this morning. You guys might know my dog. You can see one of the cushions is over there drying out. She vomited all over the couch, which was lovely. But yeah, my dog, she's a puppy. She has chronic kidney disease. So yeah, this is probably just another part of it. Unfortunately, getting worse, but hey, it's progressive. It is how it is. But yeah, she's sick, so I've been spending time down with them so I can let them out into the garden. There's my dog in the garden, and whoop, another dog. It's my girlfriend's parents' dog. She's over as well, but she's going home today, but she's been over for about a week. Isn't that right, Tia? She's deaf, so she doesn't care that I'm talking. Boo, hello. She's fine. I think she's 13 years old or something, Cocker Spaniel. Here's my hello. Oh yeah, good girl. So yeah, I'm stuck basically downstairs today. I'm on dog minding duty because yeah, she needs to go out to the garden to get sick. Anyway, let's talk about how to save raid. Now I have some interesting polls. You can see it obviously here, the community tab on my channel. I had two polls up, one for players I've been playing for less than 1 year, and then one for players that have been playing for more than 1 year. So before you perhaps have your opinion swayed by seeing the results I'm going to show in just a second, I do encourage you to go onto that community tab and vote in both of them. Or well, I mean, vote in the one that's relevant to you. You can click see results for the other ones. But let's go. So here's the long-term one. If you are a long-term player in raids, more than 1 year played, how has your game experience been? And I did the same thing for newer players, people playing for less than 1 year. And I was fascinated by this. I was fascinated. So this is for long-term players. 24% said it's been great. 59% said it's been medium. 13% said it's been bad. And then 4% wanted to see results. We've had about 800 votes in this one so far. So what's interesting to me about this, it's the ratios really. You can sort of see it fairly clearly there. Is that we don't have quite twice as much saying great versus bad, but it's somewhere similar. I don't know what that is, like 80% more people feel that their experience in raid has been great as opposed to bad for long-term players. Medium or mixed is, well, it's clearly the most dominant thing, right? People are more than twice as likely to pick it's been mixed versus it's been great. I definitely think it's interesting, like, you know, if you've been playing for more than a year and your experience is bad, which is 13% of you, I'm curious why you're still playing. It's weird. Maybe you're not. That's actually something that's probably worth mentioning. Easily they could be done playing. They've stopped playing. You know, people do like to hang around and say something sucks, right? I definitely seen that with World of Warcraft. You see comments, it's like, I haven't played in 25 years, but gosh, this game sucks. I come back every expansion to say how much I hate this game. They love it. But I don't know. So that's interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting poll. What is interesting then to compare it to as well, if you're a newer player, how does this differ? We have 11% saying great, 10% saying bad. So actually the great has gone up 1% since I press record to start recording actually. 34% mixed, then 45% see results. So one thing, be really careful, right? What we care more about here is the ratios, not the sort of objective, well not objective, but the actual like raw numbers, because right, the see results thing is skewing it. So you're not going like, oh wow, only 11% great. That's so much worse than 24% great. In this one, not quite, because the see results is really skewing it. I had to put the see results thing in because I feel like otherwise people would just pick something, vote, like someone would just vote for whatever they feel like just to see the results anyway, right? Also, what's interesting about this, like a little suspicious, because we did a poll a while ago, which is how long have you been playing Raid? And only 15% of viewers said they've been playing for less than 1 year. In other words, 85% haven't. So you'd expect 85% would have said C results. It's only 45%. So either people have been playing for that long, just haven't voted in this poll, maybe they misread it, or maybe people are just picking what they want anyway. Who knows? But I do think the differences are really interesting for shorter term, and I didn't expect it. That's what's fascinating to me. I actually expected the longer term players to be more jaded, frustrated, and burnt out, and to be more negative than the shorter term players, the newer players. But actually, the ratio, right, of great to bad, people are almost equally likely to pick great as bad for newer players. Whereas when we look at the longer term players, it's not quite twice, but they're significantly more likely to find the game great than bad if they're longer term, which again is staggering. If we compare the ratios as well, like again, great to medium is about 2.5-ish times more likely to pick medium than great. We come down here, it's over 3 times more likely to pick mixed than great. I probably should use the same phrase. I thought I put mixed in both. I obviously put medium in one. I must have been thinking about how you like your steak cooked or something. But yeah, so I thought that was really interesting. So yeah, very sweet. Let's look at bad to mixed. So it's again about 3 times as likely to pick mixed, 3.4 times as likely to pick mixed as bad. Over here, that's somewhat similar. Not quite. No, again, bad has a much stronger hold actually in the shorter term players. Yeah, if you multiply 13% by 3, you're coming out at more like 40, 45%, maybe 3.4 times multiplied. So it's actually a good chunk shorter. So yeah, they're much more negative actually, the shorter term players. So then we come to the question, right? Why am I going over this? Is to sort of lay the scene, set the scene of how do we save right? Because I think it's 2 different things, right? 2 different things. Stuff that's good for longer players that have tons of champions, tons of resources, that have beaten a lot of the content versus newer players. I think they're 2 really different things. And if I had not done these polls, I would have made a very different video where I would have been talking all about, oh, we need like new content and new stuff. Probably my own bias, being a long-term player myself, and most of you being long-term players, very biased point of view. Whereas it actually seems like the people that are enjoying the game least are the bigger chunk of the player base overall in the game, but not here on my YouTube channel. It's the short-term players, which is fascinating. What do we do to improve this? And I'll give you a couple of the ideas I had for longer-term players as well. It's a tough one. I'd be very curious to hear from the short-term players, specifically what it is that you find frustrating or difficult about the game. Some initial thoughts, again, from my time when I was back then, and I was very much free to play for the first few months. Then I bought a daily gem pack, right, for about 5 months, I think. Yeah, it wasn't quite 6. I think it was only 5 months of daily gem pack. And I bought myself like 2 mini mix packs for Christmas. I was a big spender. That was the first time I ever bought anything. 2 mini mix packs for myself for Christmas, like 2 ancient shards. Beautiful. But yeah, I would say it can be quite a tedious grind. Like I feel like there's that point you get into the game. Like nowadays you get your free login legendary, that's pretty hype. You know, you're seeing stuff for the first time, that's pretty hype. But you get to a point in the game where everything takes ages to run. You're using the same champions for everything. It takes absolutely ages to rank them up. You're like, oh my god, I've got like these 5 champs that I run for everything, but it takes so long to grind all their masteries. It takes so long to level them all up to 60. It takes so long to do the dungeons. Like the fusion's just so intensive. I can't get shards from clan boss. It's just this big wall, this big barrier. Now, here's the thing as well. That is tricky. Is that, does it make them more money though? That's the question. Does that make Plarium more money? So to give you an example, sort of along the same lines, I saw a comment recently, I think it was about Watcher of Realms? I don't know, one of the new gotchas anyway. And someone put in the comments saying, I'm playing this game, it's so much better. I've been playing, you know, in Raid, I don't get that many S tier champions, but like in this new gotcha game, I've been playing for like a couple of weeks, so I've got a whole bunch of S tier champs already without much effort. It's so much more fun. And it's interesting, because that's probably true. Well, I mean, let's say it definitely is true. You said it's true. It's true, right? But how long does that last for? That's the problem. Because I had the same sort of thing with Awakened Chaos Era. I gave that a go a while ago. You know, it was fun. But, you know, I got a bunch of, actually, like, the legendary champs and stuff like that. And I got kind of burnt out. I got, not burnt out, I just got bored. I was like, I've got so many of these great champs. They're dropping like candy. Like, why do I care about these great champs? Like, is there difficult content for me to beat? What's the point, really? It's all just quite easy and given to you. And that's just not interesting, right? It's fun because it's new and it's shiny for a little while and collecting the stuff, but then it becomes boring. I'd worry that, you know, same sort of thing could happen to these other games. I don't know, I've not played them, so I'm not sure, but something to be aware of. And certainly I think it's interesting as well. It's a trap that we can easily fall into, which is looking at other gacha games and saying, oh, Raid should definitely do that. And why I say that's a bit of a trap is because, apart from, you know, for most of them, Raid makes so much more money. Raid has been so much more successful. So good luck trying to tell a developer that, you know, this is what you should do instead, right? It's like going into a classroom and taking like Jimmy, who's got 90% in the maths test, and then Timmy, who got, you know, 20% in the maths test, and like, yo, Jimmy, I think you should copy Timmy's work. They'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? You got the guy failed the test, you're getting an A. What are you doing? Makes no sense. That's what the Plarium CEO would say, right? Be like, "What are you? This is a terrible idea. Why would I do that?" It becomes tricky. I think, you know, you could have it like, let's say, a bigger gacha, something like Genshin. It'd be more interesting. You don't see that comparison much though, like Genshin Impact, which is bigger. I actually don't know in terms of money, but it's massive. You don't see that as much though. Raid should take stuff from Genshin. I guess the player bases don't overlap as much. But, you know, that's sort of an interesting thing to consider as well. Because I think it's actually quite a potentially complicated thing in the game is, you know, what makes the game good. I think Raid does it, actually, it can work quite well. That scarcity, right, that it is really difficult to get like an amazing Void Legendary. It takes ages. It means that when you get them, you can freak out. Like when I pull my Sifi this year, and playing for almost, at that point, probably over 2.5 years, finally got a Sifi, I went crazy, like, because it's such a hype moment. It's mad. Or I got Yumiko, and again, I'm going crazy because it's so difficult to get them, and because I'm not really spending much money at all. I did for like a month. I spent like 200 quid or something one month, and then I was like, okay, I'm bored of this now. This is not me. I gave up on that. But, you know, it was like, yeah, it's super hype. Whereas, let's go back to my Awakened Chaos era. If I play that game for 3 years, it'll be super hype about getting like one of their, I think they had like Light and Dark, not Void, they had 2. Would I be that hyped about it? Like probably not. Be like, that's just another one. I've got like 3 or 4 of them within the first month, no big deal. So there's something there. Makes it complicated. I think it's very complicated between what we want short term. What we want short term, it can even be different from what we want long term. It can be very different from what Plarium wants. And what makes games, there's a lot of complexity there. I will say, I do think that, I think there's a couple of solutions that you could put in. So for example, you know, to help with, you know, leveling champions being such a chore, which I think it is, and personally I don't think it's enjoyable. I think you could do stuff like, believe it or not, like upgrade the graphics for brews in events. Like I actually slept on the brews in the Oktoberfest event because the graphic for it was so bad, it was so uninteresting. That could be something small you could do, right? Make brews look shinier, look cooler, so more attention is drawn, and then give away many more brews as rewards, especially to newer players, to help with leveling stuff up, or giving away better chickens to newer players to help that leveling stuff up. That could be pretty fun. I also saw, I think Hell Hades did a video on this, and he was talking about potentially like a battle pass type thing. I think that'd be a great idea as well. Like, you know, giving you really good rewards basically for free, right? Simply for logging it. Maybe you play an hour a day. You have to play for 30 days to unlock everything or something, right? And you get a ton of rewards. Like get some new champions, get a bunch of brews and chickens and books. Just the idea being, hey, I'm just by logging in, I'm getting a ton of stuff, right? Because I think there's a lot in this game. Tons of events now, tons of tournaments, everything. There's a lot of stuff that's very difficult to do, and it can give mixed rewards. Sometimes terrible, sometimes decent, but it can be very difficult, very time consuming. I do think that, you know, you look at clan boss as being something people really love. It's, you know, it's challenging, sure, but it gives you amazing rewards. It can even be time consuming, right? Before the instant battles, it was very time consuming, but people would still always do it as a top priority because the rewards are so good. I think, you know, having something like that, it could help newer players as well. So that could be something that's done. It's like, oh, well, it takes me ages to run campaign. It's going to take ages before I can farm it faster. Well, hey, that makes, you know, the brews and chickens, that stuff much more valuable. This battle pass thing, this new champs, because I can't get shards, getting those fixed new champs, that could be great. Not something they'd run always, but, you know, every 2 or 3 months, you could run like a battle pass for 30 days. So it could be a really fun thing. So that's one definite idea. Like I said, brews and chickens, that sort of stuff is other good ideas. I think for longer term players, let me touch on that as well, just to give you 3 sort of concepts in this video, I suppose, of things I would consider. And I'm not an expert, these are just me spitballing. I could be talking out my arse. Hopefully it's entertaining. That's the main point. I think for longer term players, one of the things I think makes good content is open-ended content. I think that makes for stuff that's good. So again, I think Demon Lord Clan Boss is a good early game example of that, where you can progress up the multiple levels of Demon Lord, and you're getting really good rewards. So each level that you go through feels quite fulfilling. You're getting something good. And then you're also going through like the key levels. Oh, I'm doing it a 4 key Ultra Nightmare. Now it's a 3 key. Now it's a 2 key. Now it's a 1 key. It's like these multi-levels of goals, multiple levels of success, but each one feels rewarding. I think that works really well. I actually think Hydra does this pretty well too. I know a lot of people didn't like Hydra. I personally obviously love Hydra. You know, possibly yes, the rewards are too bad because they're obviously nowhere near as good. So rewards being an issue, definitely. The rewards too low. I would say that stands out. And with Hydra as well, a lot of the complaints came from the randomness, right? That, oh, Head of Mischief stole my buffs and runs over suddenly. Very frustrating. So I think that the structure of Hydra, being very open-ended with multiple chests and difficulties, I think that works well. But the randomness was bad, and I think the rewards are too weak. I think if you had another clan boss with similar things, which is what we're hoping will come, I think that could be really good for long-term players as open-ended content. I think Hydra Clash does well too. Obviously, it's got the whole cadaver thing, but that aside, and pay to win is always going to define it. So that aside, though, I still think for, you know, a typical player going into Hydra Clash, like for me, before, you know, Nightmare Hydra, I can easily beat, right? Before that, building for me an auto 1 key team for Nightmare Hydra, quite easy, and then I'm done. And then there's nothing really to gain by going beyond that. Whereas now, I'm looking for like auto Nightmare Hydra. I was looking at, you know, what's that? 36 million damage roughly, I think. Whereas now I'm looking for at least 100 million, and preferably going like 120, 150 even if possible with auto. Like, you know, the level of champions that you need, the gear, the team building, there's a ton of growth in there just because of like the sort of stretch goal type aspect to the game. So I think that's important as well to have in new content. I think it's something that Sand Devils Necropolis, Iron Twins, Phantom Shogun, they all miss, is that doing the lower levels gives much worse rewards. So there's, you know, it's not really fulfilling rewards for degrees of success. It's like the top degree of success gives fairly bad rewards. The lower levels feel absolutely useless. So that's not good. And yeah, again, like, you know, you can either do the top levels or you can't. There's not like, oh, I can use multiple keys, or, you know, oh, if I tweak my team slightly, or I can get new champions, different strategies. It's like, no, there's like 2 or 3 strategies that you can use and that's it. I do wonder, perhaps at those dungeons, like, are there strategies we haven't thought of? Because like Corpulent Cadaver, it was something I actually did test before for Hydra, but it's actually extremely difficult to build that team. So I gave it a quick try and was like, number one, this seems like a pain in the ass. It's a massive pain in the ass. Nobody wants or enjoys running that team, I think. So I kind of abandoned it. It was only Hydra Clash that really pushed people to actually build Corpulent Cadaver teams. Like, it was something that nobody really had predicted would be the main thing going into it until it actually happened, you know? Could be the same with other dungeons. It's one of the benefits or potential pitfalls, I suppose, of open-end design. But yeah, that's something that I would consider. So look, there you are, guys. A few different ideas for the game, how to improve it. I think also like a lesson in terms of figuring out Where are the effective areas to target improving the... I'd love to see the tavern improved as well, like auto feeding and leveling up and brewing up, like 1-star, 2-star, 3-star stuff. That sort of thing could be great as well. Lots of concepts. I'm sure you guys will put great stuff in the comments. But yeah, there are thoughts on how to improve things for Raid. Hope you vote in these polls. Very interested to see these results. I love doing these polls. I love seeing the results and how things change. So like if I flip over to like memberships and back again, will things have changed? No, I don't think so. All right, how do I don't even know how to refresh. I'm a noob. I don't even know how YouTube works, and it's my job. Anyway, I'll see you all next time. Goodbye to dog number 1. She's just dead. She died. It's tragic, but it is what it is. Goodbye to dog number 2. See you next time. Goodbye.